It's time to make sports talk great again with Curt Schilling and Steve Deace.
Greetings. Happy Friday. Welcome to The Blaze, where we talk sports. I am Steve Deace. He is World Series champion, Hall of Famer to be. Curt Schilling. We put 25 minutes on the clock, get to as many of the day's big sports topics in that amount of time as we possibly can. If you are watching us today on YouTube or listening via podcast, you know the drill. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe, and when applicable, 5-star reviews are always appreciated. Thank you to all of you that have done those things already. Curt, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Then we begin right now. So a lot of baseball talk today. We are just a couple of weeks away from opening day of the 2019 season. MLB.com, soon you and I will be doing our official on-the-record over-under win totals for every team in Major League Baseball. All right? But looking ahead to when we will be making those picks here in a little bit less than 2 weeks, our friends at MLB.com have put together a list of the teams that they think are the 6 toughest teams to forecast. And I thought I might go through these teams one by one and get your read on why you think they may or may not be a tough forecast this year. You ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Let's start with the Tampa Bay Rays. Why are they a tough team to forecast or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, no one saw last year coming with them and Cash using the opener and all the stuff that went with that. Plus, when being a 90-win team in that division is impressive. I don't think anybody saw that roster doing that. They're literally a wild card. I don't know what. Well, they had the reigning Cy Young Award winner in Blake Snell, and he got a bit. I think he got a $15,000 raise through, so he'll be angry this year.
There's a whole backstory to that where they literally gave him the maximum amount without a bunch of other contract kickers kicking in. Okay, and it turned out to $15,000 or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't. I think they're right on the money. I have no idea how they're going to do.
And for people who are saying, well, they overachieved last year because they got to play the Orioles 19 times, keep in mind, they also played the Red Sox and the Yankees 38 times. All right. So kind of balances itself out there, don't you think? Yeah.
Yep.
In the American League Central, MLB.com thinks the Indians are tough to forecast. Why?
I don't know.
I think the team that's tough to forecast is who finishes second. That's what's tough to forecast.
Right. I agree. I would argue the team that would be toughest to forecast in that division would be the White Sox.
Tell me why.
Well, given what they did this offseason from an aggression standpoint, they went out and made some deals, got some players. They have an incredibly deep minor league system. I'm not sure. I like Minnesota if they stay healthy to possibly be a 500 team, but we're not talking about.
Do you view the White Sox farm system as being a stage ahead of its evolution from, say, the Royals and the Tigers? Is that what you think?
Close.
Okay.
Yeah,
are we talking about a team that you think, say, in August, when these guys start maturing and they're playing a bunch of divisional games, could maybe inflate their record? Is that kind of what you're maybe thinking where the White Sox are concerned?
I think in August it's more likely that those prospects could bring a big bat or a big arm if they somehow hang around and are good. And I don't understand the Cleveland thing because I think they're going to run over this division again. But if the White Sox hang around, if they're let to be hanging around, then they have a minor league system. They could go and get anybody.
The next team on their list, I think you'd put them on this list perennially because of the way they build their club every offseason, and that's the Athletics. And one of the things MLB.com points out is 3 times since 2012. That's incredible. They have had 20-game swings from one season to the next and how they have finished 3 times since 2012. That's a crazy amount of variance there, but it goes back to the way that they build their team, with Billy Beane, and some years the analytics hit and some years they don't, and then some years they need to reset so they can hit with the analytics the next year. So last year was a year the analytics hit. What do you think about this coming season?
So basically 3 times they've switched 20 games. That means what, 6 seasons?
Yeah.
So pretty
basically
much
every other year. You know what it reminds me of as a football guy? We don't have this in the NFL anymore, but remember we used to have the fifth place schedule thing?
Yep.
And you'd often see teams go from last to first or first to last in the NFL, you know, particularly in divisions where there's not a lot of depth, for example.
Yep.
This kind of reminds me of that a little bit.
Well, there's two things. First of all, they did this 20-game swing without the same roster. They don't have the same roster year to year, which makes it different. I think it's also a testament to how good Bob Melvin is as a manager, because I think when he gets a healthy roster that can compete, he can manage them. You know, and I think he can. I think there's some exceeding of expectations there that he has had a hand in. And yeah, they're just tough to forecast because of who they are, not because of their schedule or, you know, you don't know what they're going to look like. And they're always a player at the deadline, in both directions.
They think the Nationals are the toughest team to forecast in the National League East. See, I think it's actually the Phillies. But what do you think?
I think it's fair. I would put their top three against probably almost anybody in the game. They lost Bryce Harper. They still have an amazing amount of talent. And I said this last week, I could totally see this being a situation where you trade a guy or you lose a guy that everybody says is going to kill you, and you end up going to the postseason.
See, I think this is the most postseason built pitching starting rotation in the majors.
No question.
The question is, I think the two questions are, does Strasburg, can he stay healthy for a reasonable amount of time? And but that's a perennial question for them for years now. And then the other question is, can they score enough runs in the regular season to get to the postseason?
Yeah.
Okay. But to me, I look at a team like the Mets. I think they have a much higher variance. I think they could win 70 to 90 games. I look at a team like the Phillies. I think they could be 500 and win this division by 5 or 10 games. I think we know what the Nationals' issues are. It's just a matter of whether they play out or not. I don't think they're a tough team to forecast at all, actually. I think we kind of know them.
The reason I think they're tough is not them. I think it's their division. If those things come to fruition for those other teams, then that means somebody's getting beat in all those divisional games other than the Marlins.
That's what I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
I don't care what the total is, unless it's like 40 under the win total on the Florida Marlins. Under. Because they're going to play all of these teams 19 times. I think this might be the deepest division in baseball, actually. If it's not, then it's right there with the National League Central, right beneath that, for example. The problem is the Marlins are so much worse than the rest of those teams that those teams are all going to be like 13-6, 12, 14-5 against the Marlins all year long.
Yeah. You'll have your. I think you could possibly have 3 teams coming out of this division for the postseason.
They think the Brewers are the tough team to forecast in the National League Central. This seems to be picking up steam now. This is the second time it's come up. Could the Brewers go from first to worst? And you don't buy this, do you?
I do not. I really don't. I think that they're good enough in that division. I don't think that division's good enough to bring them down.
What major loss have they had?
It's not no. It's not the major loss. It's what the Reds did. It's what the Cubs didn't do. It's what the Cardinals did. Listen, the
Cardinals had an all-star bat to a team that had the best record in baseball from what, about June 30th on?
The Cardinals added an MVP. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, a league-wide most valuable player. I still believe it's the most underplayed and underappreciated move of the winter.
Because, and I agree with you, and you know why? Because here's the most underplayed stat of the winter. Paul Goldschmidt had the second best batting average on the road in Major League Baseball last year. So this is not a case of a guy who built a career in a bandbox. Yep. All right? He had the second best batting average on the road in 2018. Keep that in mind.
And I guess I give a couple extra credit points to the fact that the Cardinals just make baseball players. And so when they say they've got prospects that are on the cusp, they have Major League Baseball prospects that are on the cusp. But I like the Brewers. I think they're going to be fine. The hardest team for me, honestly, this may be my Arizona Cardinal pick of the year for baseball, is the Pirates. I think James Taillon is a Cy Young candidate. I think they've got some good young talent. I think it's a very predictable finishing division. It's Cubs, Cardinals at the top for me. Brewers right there. Pirates and the Reds.
I agree wholeheartily with their pick in the NL West with the Padres, because I just don't think this is a very good division. Okay. And I think whoever is hitting ahead of and behind of Manny Machado, their production goes up 10 to 20% just by virtue of him being in the lineup, right? So I mean, I think this division is so weak that I agree that this is a tough team to forecast where they're going to be.
Well, we may finally see the Will Myers everybody thought got traded from Kansas City, if that's the case, because him and Machado will be touching each other in the batting order one way or another. I agree with you. This is the hardest division to predict, much less the hardest team. I don't think San Diego was Manny Machado away from the postseason.
I don't either.
I think that the Padres did some nice things this winter. But the Padres are going to have the Rockies problem, and that the ballpark is going to prevent them from being dominant. When 81 of your games are in in Yellowstone Park, you better have a
Here's
very
the question:
deep
could 87 wins win this division?
Yes, absolutely.
Could they win 87 games?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
No, not in that division.
Okay. Sticking with Major League Baseball, some major changes for 2019 have been announced. Let's take these one by one, starting with inning breaks. This is subject to discussions with the local broadcast partners, but inning breaks will be reduced from 2 minutes and 5 seconds to 2 minutes in local games, from 2 minutes and 25 seconds to 2 minutes in national games. The commissioner's office retains the right to further reduce the breaks another 5 minutes in local and national games heading into the start of the 2020 season. What's this mean for you as a pitcher warming up or anything of that nature? Does it make a big impact? What do you think?
No, it doesn't. And it's not going to make a big impact on game times.
Then why not do this a long time ago? I mean, as someone that's worked in commercial media for, a couple of decades now, the shorter the breaks, the more you get to charge for the commercial. You know what I'm saying? So why not have shorter breaks and charge more for the ads? And that's one way you can make. That's one. I'm not opposed to making the game shorter if you can. Yeah. What I'm opposed to is changing the game to make it shorter. That's what I'm opposed to. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, there's two very different things in
Those
that.
Those are two different things. Yeah, don't change the distinctiveness of your game is the selling point. Okay,
right.
So save the distinctiveness, and then outside of that core, what is it we could do with periphery stuff like this thing with the innings to make things a little shorter? Okay. Right. Next, the trade deadline. I've never understood why there are two trade deadlines in baseball. Okay. So the August waiver trade period is going to be eliminated, meaning, when you try to, you throw a bunch of veterans out there and see if anybody wants to pick up a contract.
The white privileged teams will no longer be able to buy and sell really rich players.
Right. This is the Lori Loughlin rule. The Uncle Becky rule is gone.
Yep.
All right. You can't do this anymore. So when July 31st comes and goes, that's the trade deadline. That's it. That's all there is.
I like that.
And I like it too. And I think it's going to put even more emphasis on being shrewd at that deadline, don't you?
The baseball trade deadline. Listen, I think the baseball trade deadline is one of the funnest weeks of the year.
Cool, totally agree.
Having been a part of it a couple different times as a player, it's not the funnest couple of weeks of the year. But I'm blown away by how much hockey came onto the scene over the past month with their trade deadline. Their trade deadline was unbelievable and exciting and had you flipping the radio. Mm-hmm. That used to be the Major League Baseball trade deadline. It's kind of lost a little bit of that luster because of the size of all these contracts. And that was why you saw the waiver deadline still being a thing. But I love this change.
All right, the All-Star Game, fan voting,
My
I should
favorite.
say. You like this one? Okay.
Oh, my God.
All right, we'll find out why.
This.
Let's get the audience the specifics. Fan voting will be conducted in 2 rounds. A primary round that mirrors the All-Star voting of old, followed in late June or July by an election day in which the top 3 vote getters at each position in each league during what amounts to the primaries, like we see in politics, will be voted on by the fans in a prescribed time period to determine the actual starters. As far as the game itself is concerned, the 10th inning and all subsequent innings of All-Star games that go into extra innings will begin with a runner on second base. Why is this your favorite?
Love it. Because every year, the thing I hate most about the All-Star game is the day the team is announced, no one's talking about the All-Stars. Everybody's talking about the snubs.
Who didn't get in. Same with the Monday after Selection Sunday. We're debating who are the last 2 or 3 teams that were never going to win it anyway. Right?
Same with the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Why do we so this allows, I think, okay, so you got balance.
And I want to give you some credit. You won't do it, so I will. The night before we got set to do this show, before the day before the MLB Hall of Fame announcement, and obviously you're on the Mendoza line, you're on the cut line right now, right? You were adamant that you did not want to spend, that this needs to be about the guys who actually get in,
yes,
not about the guys who did not. So, I mean, you're consistent where this is concerned. You want to see achievement recognized.
So what happens is generally you show up with a ballot stuffer or two, and somebody's like, "What? Wow, that's not even."
I used to do it at Old Tiger Stadium on the corner
of, and that's fine. That's fine. That's what kids do.
Was it Michigan and Kimball back in the day? And I used to just sit there with the Gillette bubbles and just fill out every Tiger I could when I was 11 years old, all game long. Yes, I totally get it.
You could do that over a month or two of time. Now you can't. Now there's a 24-hour window where the fans are going to say, okay, listen, there's no chance this guy should even be close to the top of the ballot. And the guy that's second is far. I think it will allow for all-star teams where there's far fewer, can't believe this guy didn't make it. There's always going to be snubs no matter how big the roster is.
Well, that's going to happen if you're going to go to a primary system, because when the one guy who sneaks through is up against the two guys that everybody knows more, that's going to make it tougher for that guy. Meaning that guy could beat maybe a 15-person field when his home fans go all in. But when the whole nation is focused on him and two other guys, it's unlikely he's going to do it. By the way, Michigan and Trumbull, and I need to give away my Detroit Tiger fandom. I think I said Michigan and Kimball. So that is a dude code violation that I will. I'll do 10 push-ups after the show for that. So
I love the All-Star Game thing because, simply because the All-Star Game. It's a challenge. You don't get to see players play, and I just like that rule.
You know what they should get rid of? You don't need a player from every team. I never understood that.
The only team that should be required to have a player is the hosting team.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, you want to have so somebody gets cheered from the host team. Yep. I agree. Beyond that, you don't need a player from every team.
No,
I don't agree with that
like
at all.
the extra innings rule, and don't for a second think that this is not dipping their toe in the water of making that a tiebreaker for the regular season games.
Let's go to the Home Run Derby. Total prize money for the Home Run Derby will be increased to $2.5 million, and the winner of the Home Run Derby will now receive a cool $1 million check, Curt.
You will never again hear a player say,
I don't want to do this?
Nope.
They're all doing it now?
You will have guys saying, wait a minute, why am I not in it?
Right.
Why am I not in it? Yeah. You'll have guys reaching out to the league saying, hey, I'd be really interested.
And for people that wonder, this is the NFL draft for Major League Baseball. It is, from a TV rating standpoint, other than the live games, it is the highest rated event in broadcasting in MLB. So they have every incentive to create further incentives for the best players to take part, because that only improves the ratings and that only improves the amount of revenue that they make off of this event. Now, this one goes right into your territory. Mound visits. Maximum number of mound visits per team will be reduced from 6 to 5 per game. MLB had instituted an initial mound visit limitation prior to the 2018 season. Your thoughts on this?
This is one of those things, like a couple of the other ones, that is going to just make the TV stations, the revenue, the ad people pissed. Because, first of all, it's not going to change anything when it comes to game time. Because in the last couple of years, you've seen kind of the Joe West mentality. The umpire literally follows the pitching coach out to the mound and breaks up the meeting, 8 seconds in. These meetings don't last more than 15 to 30 seconds. So you're talking about a minute and a half because pitching coaches are usually fat and slow, so it takes them a while to walk out and walk back. Minute and a half shaved off the game time, which will be lost, and it's irrelevant. And it's also, I want to say, going to cost them a little bit of money.
So there's some other changes too for 2020. I didn't put them on the list because I could see a scenario where they debate it for a year and then take it back, and then we argued about stuff that didn't happen. But the one thing for 2020 I want us to touch on quickly. They're thinking of essentially legislating against this the thing that took over baseball last year, the opener. Every starting pitcher has to face at least 3 batters. Is that a rule you think a year from now they will absolutely follow through on?
It better not happen. That would be a disaster. I mean, listen, you remember I thought what Craig Counsell did was absolutely brilliant. Mm-hmm. And I can't believe no one had thought of that before. And I meant to tell you, I did it. I kind of did something like this. I pitched 2 innings against the Padres one time, and the lights in the stadium blew out, and we had to cancel the rest of the game and make it up. Mm-hmm. And so I had an all left-handed lineup, and the next day they brought Randy Johnson in to take over. and he punched out 16 guys. It was embarrassing. But it's a great way to get somebody to spend a roster.
Right.
I think the relief I think that's a disaster. I don't think that's going to happen. I hope it doesn't, because I think now you're starting to impact the outcome of games.
Mm-hmm.
None of this other stuff has anything to do with the outcome of the game. But I honest to God think you're going to start to impact it. And you're going to have guys that no longer have jobs because of this, because there's that left-handed specialist who makes 80 appearances and throws 14 and a third total innings, who's no longer going to have a roster spot because he can't get you won't have Mike Myers. You remember the down lefty that we had on the Red Sox team? He was on the Rockies. He no longer has a job. Guys like that, Javier Lopez from the Giants, guys like that. No, those guys will disappear.
The unsung hero. It's the 35th anniversary of my beloved Detroit Tigers 1984 championship team. This is now where I earn back the dude code points I just lost. The unsung hero of that team was a relief pitcher they traded for in midseason from the Cincinnati Reds named Bill Scherer. All right. And they had one lefty. There were no lefties in the starting rotation. They had one lefty in the entire bullpen. It was Willie Hernandez, who won the Cy Young and the MVP that year. But they had no bridge to get to him in the ninth inning. Nobody else that was designated to pull out to punch out lefties. And so the Tigers made this trade for Bill Scherer, was his name, from the Cincinnati Reds. And that's all he did all year long, is just come in and pitch to one or two left-handed hitters a night. All right. And he was the unsung hero of that team. So that's a little bit of what you're talking about right there.
Nowadays, those guys are getting $5, $6, $7 million a year to come in and get 5-6 outs a week.
Let's go to college basketball. So you and I were both skeptical this was going to happen, but it did. Zion Williamson returned last night for Duke. Holy freaking buckets. This was a Julius Caesar MacArthur-esque return. He put forth the single greatest statistical game by a Duke basketball player since Christian Laettner in his senior year. Perfect shooting. This was like Bill Walton in on those old Final Four films where he doesn't miss a shot because he's just a man among boys. This was an incredible display of I am a force of nature. I'm just better than you.
How dare you question
That's
me?
right. There was a message that was sent. Holy cow. And we all look like fools. Mr. Zion, we have all received this message loud and clear. We are not worthy, and we will now just stand back and let you do your thing.
What was the final line? What was his final line?
29 points. I think it was 10 rebounds or 12 rebounds, 5 steals, and he was 13 of 13 from the field. And keep in mind, this is against one of the trickiest defenses annually in college basketball, Syracuse's matchup zone. And you saw the film of the Syracuse guy that tried to trip him last night. I assume you saw that as well. Okay. So I think a message was sent last night. Did you get the message?
I love when you question a supreme talent. So if you want to know what this kid's inner makeup is, excuse me, if you're looking ahead to wondering about how he'll be in the postseason or how he'll react to pressure, that's a game that he made it a point before this game that he was going to make a statement. And he did so within the confines of the offensive plan of that team.
Yep. And 29 points on 13 shots, man. Not 29 points on 35 shots, Carson Edwards at Purdue. 29 points on 13. Here's what he told you last night. If you were in the NBA and you're wondering, am I Karl Anthony Towns? Am I a real good player? Or am I a guy that is a transcendent face of a franchise? He sent the message last night that he is the latter. That's what I thought he did.
Yeah, this was a giant middle finger to everybody wondering if there possibly might be somebody else to pick at the top spot.
Yep.
And
doubt my love for the game, doubt my love for my teammates, doubt that I'm going to sit this out and cash the check. He even rolls out with another pair of Nikes. It was like his uniform number wasn't a 1. It was a middle finger to the world, to sports media, to everybody. And I got to tell you, he proved me wrong. I freaking loved every minute of it, man. I love stuff like that. All right. If you prove me wrong because you are just a son of a you-know-what, I like stuff like that. I liked watching it last night. Final thing. Are you buying this? So turns out the academic fixer for the Stars was also retained by golf great Phil Mickelson, who you might recall has had some issues with insider trading and some other stuff in the past, right? Okay. Now, Mickelson admitted that he hired this guy to, and this is his word, quote, tutor his kids. However, he is adamant he never engaged with any fraud with this said fixer. And he said this yesterday, quote, our family, along with thousands of others, used Rick Singer's company to guide us through the college admissions process. We are shocked by the revelations of these events. Obviously, we were not a part of this fraud. Our kids would disown us if we ever tried to interfere like this. End quote. Curt, do you buy it?
Yeah, 100%.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
100%. I
like Mickelson, so I want it to I'm cynical.
Listen, I know Phil. I played golf with Phil.
Okay.
I know him to be a hardworking, conservative-minded, earn your way kind of guy. He's had the ability to buy his kids' future. He's never done it. He's pushed them in the right way. This would be a Derek Jeter cheated with PEDs level of stunning for me. Wow. He's done some stupid stuff. He's a great guy. He's very much he's a hardcore gambler. He just always has been. Mm-hmm. But I think I believe, and his wife has gone through some amazingly challenging things, which the family has. I believe him 100%.
I hope you're right, because I've long been a fan of his game.
Yep.
So I want you to be right about this. And you know him. I've never met him. I've only watched him on TV. So I will defer to you on this. All right. Monday, we will have the bracket to break down right here on The Blaze. Curt, we'll see you then.
Take care, buddy.